love to welcome my very good friend, Azeem Ahmad. He's come all the way down from Manchester. He's talked at PPC Hero, writing SEO. They multi-talks. It's like people pay to see him a lot more than what I'm giving him. Seriously, why are you laughing? Who laughed at him? He's going to be talking to us about PPC and how to pretty much defend PPC in the marketing strategy, because that's something we still need to do. Surprisingly enough, everyone uses Google. We've got everything, and Microsoft and so. So yeah, please welcome Azeem. And I'm going to say because everyone is participating. Yeah, please, more. Yes.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm going to start. You don't smash anything, it's not going to be that bad. I always start my talks in a couple of ways. First way is, thanks very much for being here. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me and us. I really appreciate that, so thank you very much. I want to talk about two very important dates in the PPC world. And there's a bit of a quiz here. If you get it right, just so you're aware, you'll get one of these handy stickers, which I'll tell you about shortly. But I'm not expecting anyone to get this right. So, there's two dates here, April the 27th and May the 9th. Does anybody know why those two dates are important in the world of PPC?
No.
No?
When Google AdWords became Google Ads?
Oh, dear. So, full disclosure, I lied. I didn't expect anybody to get this right. On April the 27th, 2022, my wonderful friend over here sent me a message saying that she was thinking of running a PPC event in London. On May the 9th last year, she's fucking quick by the way. On May the 9th last year, she said, you know what, Azeem, I've made it happen. And so, none of this is possible without her. So please give me a massive, massive thank you. Amazing. And now I will actually get you participating now, because earlier on, I was wandering around the room and I thought by this point you'd all be tired and waiting for pizza, which I'm told is coming. So, in the interest of participation, let me just finish this next sentence before you start moving, but don't move your seats. Underneath one of your seats, I've hidden something. If you find it, it's yours, it's a prize. I'll give you 30 seconds to find it, and that's now.
Including the sofas?
Including the sofa? Oh, don't turn up the sofa. Okay, you can stop. I lied. There's no prize. I'm sorry. I will give you a sticker. But I just wanted to make sure that you're all awake and ready for this. So, yes. Hi, everyone. Were you looking as well? Hi, everyone. I'm Azeem. I work as digital marketing lead in the B2B industry and B2C. I'm reading slides if I don't know what to do. I host a podcast. That's a secret. It's called the Azeem Digital Asks podcast. It's rated in the top 10 in digital marketing podcasts. And it's also in the top 20 in the world. So yes, I will blow my own trumpet temporarily. I speak at conferences internationally. I enjoy fitness, chocolate, and trying to survive on up to 5 hours of sleep. So the fitness is those daft posts you see on LinkedIn where people get up at 4 o'clock to go to the gym. I do that for context. I will get in tonight at about midnight, and I'll be up again at 4 o'clock because I'm stupid. The chocolate is because I just love chocolate. As you know, we went for lunch earlier. I tried to order a chocolate and rum cake and they ran out. Bastards. And 5 hours sleep is there. So yeah, that's me. I'm going to now talk to you about how you can prove the value of PPC in a marketing strategy. So I'll be covering three things: metrics, costs, and value. With my talks, I always make sure that I stand in front of the slides so nobody can see them, like an idiot. I always make sure that I don't have case studies and that they're widely applicable. So you've heard from two fantastic people today. Please make sure that you follow them on social media. But try and make my talks as widely applicable as possible. I'm going to work on the assumption that you have a marketing strategy in place and that you want to take that to the next level, which means moving away from this. So this year we require for PPC? Because I won't ask you to name and change yourself, I'm pretty sure people still do that in this room. Just by nodding your heads, you don't have to put your hands up, there's no more participation now, but just by nodding your heads, any of these sentences or phrases sound familiar? PPC is too expensive. Lots of nods. Your PPC budget has been reduced this year. Lots of nods. SEO is far more effective than PPC. There you go. So yeah, lots of groans, but hold on to that. I asked the industry as well. So I went out on Twitter and I said, right, what's the most common pushbacks that you've had about PPC from your clients or from your teams? And then from my friends in America, sorry, not here, but I do have stickers. They could have won a t-shirt. This is what they said. Google set it up for us, it spent a lot of money, and it led to nothing. And for B2B, our customers aren't on Facebook, or Meta as it's now known. LinkedIn is too expensive, blah, blah, blah. One thing that I will say, before I carry on, is if you are working on B2B and not advertising on Meta, you are missing out. It's literally a gold mine. Sophie Logan, you might have heard of her, she's sat there. Why should I have to work on my landing page? Offering on sales process, can't PPC just get me leads? We used to have a ROAS of 5, why can't you get that again? Double client conversions, it happens a lot. And Jill used to work at Google, so she knows what she's talking about. Tried it before, doesn't work. Please get us a higher ROAS. And then this one. Our SEO is good, so we don't need Google ads. We don't need Google ads. I hear that a lot. But then just hold on to that thought. I promise I won't take half an hour because I've heard that, I was going to say pasta, that's like pizzas coming. This is the problem when you buy shirts for children aged 12 to 13, it cuts off the blood supply. So I'm going to start talking about tracking first of all. So as of January last year, tracking ROI in digital marketing returns almost 16 million results. As of last month, it's nearly 23 million. You can check me on that. I think it's 23. If not, YOLO. If you work in brand awareness, there's loads of different ways you can track brand awareness. I won't read them all out, but look, referrals, page views, mentions, traffic, document views, there's loads. If you measure engagement, likes, tweets, forwards, shares, the usual. If you're in sales or e-commerce, online, offline, exhibition, fairs. If you're tracking customer loyalty, advocacy, discounts, renewals, this is literally the next half an hour of the store, by the way. Lead gen, there's loads more there, I won't go through them, but you get the point that I'm getting at. The C-suite will usually say stuff like this. None of that makes sense to me. Just track it all. I've heard that in the past. Generally, someone in the CFO, someone who is the CFO will just say, how much money did the company make? And I put generic C-suite man and generic C-suite woman. That's a lie, because they don't let many women into the C-suite, so if you are a woman in this room tomorrow, go into the office. I've been guilty of channel favoritism in the past too, so I used to genuinely say this. So my career, I won't put you too much, but I started as hardcore PPC, that's all I did for 4 years. And I used to work on the same client who did SEO, and I used to say this, why would you wait for it in terms of SEO when you can pay for it in terms of the results? Why wait for the results when you can pay for the results? I used to piss them off all the time, and they didn't like it. What I'm about to show you and talk to you through, marketing and the boardroom have to align for this to work. So if you're disconnected from your boardroom if you're in-house, or your clients, top level senior people, if you're an agency, you've got to get in the same room. I was going to say you've got to get into bed, which is not appropriate. You've got to be working together. You have to focus on what I call is the North Star goal. Costs, very important when you're trying to prove the value of something. I'm about to take you slowly into the matrix. One time. Don't make notes. I have to give you a specific example here. I will share the slides after. But for me to make this work for you, I'm going to run you through some numbers and give you actual value of some stuff. I'm going to start by talking about the SEO way. That's a bit of a dirty word in this room, I know. I've heard a couple of people moaning earlier. Sorry, I'll be quick. But it's important to frame it in context because search doesn't only happen in the top 4 results of Google. The SEO way, generally, you've got to have a good understanding of Search Console, and in this case, I'll use Google. I'll give you some basic numbers. On average, and I'm going to use lead gen because I think a lot of people that I've spoken to work with lead gen. On average, Organic traffic to leads convert at 20%. 15% thereabouts will be organic leads to sales conversions, and those are the numbers directly out of HubSpot. For this to work, you'll need stuff that the C-suite can actually understand. So if we talk about leads, it's the earned leads per month, the sales from those leads, your own traffic data, and the biggest one, cost. So, you take your monthly website visitors and you times that by 0.2, which is your total leads per month. Remember what I told you about the conversion rate from earlier. You times those by 14, I can't do 14.6 because I'm not that good at math, so I've just rounded it down to 14. Gives you total sales per month, and then remember the conversion rate that I told you earlier on. And you at this point look out into the crowd and I see people looking like this guy confused. What does it all mean? So I've just pulled some numbers and I'm going to give you some actual data to go behind this. So if I had that many website visitors, just over 16,000, times it by 0.2, I know I'll get 3,239 leads a month. Of those 3,239 leads, I know that I'll get 486 sales. Great. Like I said, that's what I get. How does cost come into this? Right. For £500 a week, I could get a piece of targeted content, or I could outsource that to a content writing agency and I could get that focusing specifically on core topics or core keywords. In a month, that's £2,000, up to 5 pieces of content. And in a year, that's £24,000. But that is a lot of money for some companies. If you work with smaller clients and smaller budgets, that's a lot. What does that actually get you? Let's make the numbers a bit more simpler for me because I'm daft and rely on percentagecalculator.net. Whoever made that website, God bless them. 5,000 visitors, times that by 0.2, 1,000 leads, round it up to 15, 150 sales. For £2,000 a month, I can get 150 sales. Right, actual numbers you can now take into the boardroom. This is where it gets trickier because low volume keywords typically are not going to get you 5,000 website visits in 1 month, which is why people who have SEO also have PPC. I'm going to very briefly touch on the PPC way because most of you in the room are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. Generally, low volume terms are niche or over 3 keywords long, or what we call long tail keywords. You already have data in your accounts or your client accounts that will let you build remarketing audiences. Great. Let the bigger budgets go to war for the more competitive terms. One example that I labour religiously to death is car insurance. Ridiculously competitive keyword. Let them fight it out. If you know you can play in a smaller space and get a better conversion rate out of it, absolutely do that. I'm going to give you an example of this in action. So I'm going to talk to you about a podcast, something that I would like to think that I know something about. So, the term itself, podcast, I looked at this through SEMrush last year, 33,000 searches a month globally, over 1.5 million. High volume, high difficulty, high competition, but nobody really just going to type in podcast and press search. Nobody that you probably want to convert. If I look here, that KD is, if you're not familiar with SEMrush, it's short for keyword difficulty. It's a number out of 100. The higher it is, the closer it is to 100, and that's a traffic light system there, the harder it is to rank organically. It will take you absolutely ages. I have a podcast. I don't want to target the term podcast. I want to look at the, I think it's 5th or 6th one down there, digital marketing podcast. Right, 210 a month, 50% chance of ranking. I think I can go after that. This is where I'm going to be a bit of an arsehole and say, look, I did. If you type in digital marketing podcast, there I am. But, yeah, thank you, I'm fine. If I go back, it's just pure vanity. 210 people a month are going to search that. I can tell you from my own data, not many people click that box. I think it's because I need to get a smaller size shirt, but I'll try. Joking aside, I've done this in multiple I've done this in multiple sectors. So I've done it in insurance, I've done it for holidays, I've done it in both B2B and B2C. And the reason why I've put industrial manufacturing there is because that's the sector that I work in now. So if you thought yours was bad and dry, literally try and explain to someone the benefits of opening and closing the door properly. I know this is recorded, so I love my job, please continue to pay me. So, back to the point. Paid organic social media will build your awareness and it will also build search demand. What I haven't included there, and I will include, and you can do a whole separate talk on this, is digital PR, news jacking, literally driving demand for something that people aren't searching for yet. Widen your keyword pool across all channels with longer, precise, and most importantly, related terms. And then if you go back to what I said earlier, that marketing in the boardroom must align for this to work and focus on the North Star goal. If you don't take anything away from this talk, I want you to take this next bit away because this, what I'm about to show you, has saved my life millions of times. When I talk about marketing, I mean every single channel. So you'll notice I haven't talked too much in depth about one specific channel. You might argue that I have. If so, YOLO. This is the bit that I'm going to hopefully help you show value of PPC. And this is something that I use. It's a matrix I use called trust versus performance. If you've ever seen it, it looks a bit like this. And this is from Simon Sinek. So you might have seen this before, but I've adapted this for marketing. So he talked about this matrix where I think it was the US Navy SEALs. They used this exact matrix to hire people into the Navy SEAls. It's a relative scale. If you're in that bottom left corner, you perform at a low level and have a low level of trust. If you're at the top right corner, he describes that as a unicorn, something that doesn't exist. So he wanted to find the happy medium of someone who was going to be 8 out of 10 all the time, rather than a 6 out of 10. How do you turn this into marketing? Think of every bit on this scale as a channel. If I put a channel in that box there, we would say it's low performing and it's low trust. When you talk to the boardroom, I would say, we'll probably avoid this channel. We'll call it display, for example. GTN, like you said, we'll avoid it. We all want this channel, which probably doesn't exist, because if there was one channel that performed at a high level, had a higher value of trust, and it wasn't PPC, we wouldn't be in this room now, and we wouldn't be talking about this. I don't think such a channel exists. If you do, feel free to grab me afterwards, and I'll say, you're wrong. Short-term victories are great. So for example, in this box here, I would put programmatic advertising, perform at a very, very high level, but I think it has a low level of trust. Why do I think that? I'll give you a very quick example. I used to run programmatic ads. There's no way I can say this without it sounding like some sort of innuendo. I used to run programmatic ads. With the programmatic ads, if you've never run them before, you get placement reports, you get impressions, placement quality, and so on and so forth. I used to filter the report for low impressions but high placement quality. That was the stuff that I wanted to go after. I looked through the report and I found a website, and I think it was something called, I don't know, let's just say greysulphur.com. So at work, typed in greysulphur.com, boom, already thinking about the bonus that I'm going to ask for. Turns out greysulphur.com is a Dutch website for escorts, which we've been putting our clients' ads on, which is not great, therefore low trust, but it did perform. Turns out, if you're in the market for a Dutch escort, you're also in the market for a holiday as well. There you go. But back to the point. When you're talking to the boardroom, this is the area that I think you should play in, and this is exactly how I describe it. Medium performing channels with high trust and low performing channels with high trust. You can argue that SEO and PPC live in that space. I'm not going to say one is one and one is the other, but when you're explaining stuff like this to the boardroom, this is super, super important, because one thing that there's one hill that I will die on, and it's that nobody outside of PPC marketers, and maybe someone who's really interested in your clients, care about click-through rate on its own. Nonsense. Like, I used to use click-through rate when there's nothing else good to talk about to my clients. If they've had a really bad week or a bad month, your CTR was up by 10%. It doesn't mean anything, honestly. Talk to the people in the boardroom in a language that they will understand. Take this matrix to them, and literally you will be the best thing since sliced bread. Last thing I will say on this, before I very quickly move on and wrap up and get you all onto the pizza, is you can use this exact same model when you're forecasting for PPC as well. So if you don't do what I'm about to tell you, start doing it, and I guarantee it's a win. If you have, let's say, okay, your client or your company say to you, we're going to give you 10k for PPC, forecast performance for that. Do what you normally do, forecast for 10k, also do a forecast for 5k, and say for 5k, for half of what you're going to give me, here's what I will give you. Also do a forecast for 20k. If you double what you give me, here's what I will give you. aim for some options, and then cheekily what I do is where they've said 10k, I'll maybe write 12 or 15 and subconsciously get another 2 or 5k out of them. And say, look, if you double it, I can get you this. If you halve it, I can get you this. In some cases, they might say, okay, let's halve it, but that's where the trust comes into you as a PPC manager or someone who executes PPC campaigns to deliver what you say you're going to deliver. Forecast 3 ways, generally shoot for the middle and add in a couple of K, and you'll win extra budgets. Anyway, that is that. Very short summary for me. Align all your channels, don't compete with each other. You might have heard me make fun of a couple of channels today, but I still love them. They all have a part to play. Combine your short-term victories with long-term consistency. Demonstrate that you think in a multi-channel way and have an ROI focus. And use the trust and performance model. And there's one last thing that I will give you. If you have a client or if your company has a very long path to purchase and your boardroom or your client don't understand why you should be advertising on a particular channel or why they should increase your budgets, jump into the old analytics, go into your multi-channel funnels and filter it from the bottom up. So look at your longest path. So for example, I used to work for an auto company. God, it was like 60, 70 paths long. I put that in front of them and I said, if you remove one of these steps, how confident are you that the rest will happen? So whenever any channel was in danger, often PPC with budgets cut, I would say if you took out this paid search click, that was step 8, how do you know 9, 10 and up to 60 are going to continue? And they couldn't. And it carried on, and it didn't anyway, so y'all, but it's a point. Use that, take it out, it's really good and it will help you secure more budget and place PPC in a multi-channel marketing strategy. That's pretty much me. If you're on LinkedIn, scan that, you'll follow me. If you're on Twitter, you can scan that and follow me. I will share the slides and you can pass them out. And then all my contact details are there. Really appreciate you having me. I really appreciate you having me, Anu. And thank you very much.
I feel like I've made it. I just think has done the best. Any questions for him? Yes? Fantastic.
You rightly pointed out kind of multi-channel attribution. What's the best way to actually put data to that and show the benefit of PPC in the customer journey?
No. For me, I would take in. Thank you. For me, when I use that model of the funnel, the multi-channel funnel, I look at average costs, average click costs, and then I work out, right, we must have spent X amount on this. So instead of turning those chevrons in MCF, I will use actual numbers. So we'll say, right, we spent this at this stage, we spent that at that stage. And I'll always go back to, let's say, where it comes to lead gen, I know what the average cost of a lead is. So to give you a practical example, I used to work at university. The cost per lead, I'll give you arbitrary numbers, but let's say from Google Ads, it was £50. From Facebook, it was £150. Bear in mind, a university student will spend £9,000 a year. But because universities are very anal and tight about budgets, they'll think, right, £50, let's hammer more in there. I'm sure everybody in this room has been in that situation. The cost per lead is lower, go there. What I did in that situation was I linked that information to the CRM and I said, right, which one of these channels will turn into a student? We might be great at filling up stuff at the top of the funnel, but what's more important is getting bums on seats in September. It took a lot of analysis, but we worked out that Facebook leads are more likely to turn into bums on seats. So I used that exact model and said, right, we spend this amount on Facebook, it's probably cost us, let's say, £150 to get that student. The CFO will think, you're spending more money when it's cheaper on Google. I literally go back and say, and now have the data to show you that people on Facebook are more likely to become students. So while we get less leads, they'll be of a better quality and more likely to convert. With data information like that, you literally put yourself in the driving seat. I've been in a situation before where I've gone into the boardroom, talked to the CFO and just been sweating, thinking he or she is going to cut my budgets. Can't back myself, and this is someone who's at the top table. But if you have the data to back yourself, do it 100%.